What's going on, everybody? Jen from World Creators. Today, I want to talk about 3 steps that has helped me begin to work towards reaching my full potential, and also these 3 steps has helped me to identify my internal obstacles. Let's get into it. So, it's very, very important that we begin to identify the things that I would say we let hold us back from either becoming a better person, accomplishing our goals, whatever it is. We need to identify these things. So before I get started, with me, for an example, I was dealing with low self-confidence at time, not believing in myself, worried about what others would think of me. I would procrastinate. I would start on something and then I'll stop, wouldn't come back to it. It was just like a repeated cycle. And I was like, I know I'm not the only one that's going through this. And so I wanted to find a solution that could help me with these things. And so, like I said, it's 3 steps. The first step is to identify. So we have to identify what's actually stopping us. And so when you identify these things, now before I get started, this is a disclaimer. Now, these are the things that help me, and I'm putting this information out there in hopes that it could help someone else. So like I said, these are the things that help me, and hopefully it will be able to help the next person. So the first step was to identify. So I had to sit down with a clear and open mind, and I was willing to be honest with myself. Like, when you are sitting down to identify these things, be honest with yourself. Be open and honest with yourself, because sometimes if someone tells us, for example, I notice that you do this a lot, or you might do that a lot. Sometimes we can be in denial of some of the things that other people say. Now, we also have to use discernment, because we want to make sure it's a person who tells us the truth and versus someone who might be saying it just to be mean. It's all about taking constructive criticism. And so we have to be honest with ourselves. And so I sat down with a clear, open mind. I was ready to be honest, and I wrote down the things that I knew that was stopping me, which, like I said before, I put down procrastination, low self-confidence, not believing in myself. Like, I listed everything. And so now this is another disclaimer. So when you are identifying these things, you can also have a therapist or a life coach, licensed therapist, licensed life coach, who has experience in these things, if you're having a hard time identifying these things yourself. I would recommend that you go ahead and talk to a therapist, because I know the first time I went to therapy, I was able to identify some of these things that I just didn't want to face it, I was in denial, or these things that I actually didn't know. And so therapy was a very good tool for me, and it gave me a different perspective about things, and things that I need to work on, and things that I could change. So you can get you a life coach or a therapist to help you with these things if you're not able yourself to sit down and identify these things. So that's step 1. We have to identify the things that's stopping us. And so before I go to step 2, though, when I did my list, I called them bad boundaries, because these are the boundaries that I placed in my life, and they were bad things because these things wasn't helping me get to my goals. It wasn't helping me become a better person. And so I just called them bad boundaries. But the more research that I did, it's other words too, but internal obstacles. And so when I seen it, I said, that makes it makes sense, because these are the things that's going on with us internally, and they are obstacles. Like, these are hurdles that we are trying to get through in life. So step 2, after we identify, we have to research. And so you research the things that you know are stopping you. For example, procrastination. Google is our friend, right? And other search engines. But I would go into Google, type in procrastination, and I will read different articles about procrastination. I will read different tips about it. I will purchase books, listen to podcasts, and like I said, read articles and everything. And so once you identify these things, begin to do some research on it and actually begin to incorporate it in your everyday life. So when you have the research going on, then when you see some tips for it, you can say, oh, well, let me try this, let me try that. And it just gives you a different perspective. It gives you tips and tricks that you can build on, basically. So yeah, that's number 2. You have to do your research on these things. And in my opinion, once you do the research on the things, don't just do the research for that minute. And you know how you be in the moment with things like, yes, I'm ready to change this, I'm ready to do this and do that. You go and do your research. You might read it for that day, then you leave it alone. No, try to get as much research done as you can, because with me, I love doing research. Like, it's one of my hobbies that I love to do. So I go deep down the rabbit hole, because I like to read not from the same I like to read things not from the same person. I like to hear different perspectives, because everyone sees things in a different way. And so I just like to read different articles, read different books. And also with the books, some people might not want to read like a thick book or a whole book. I will say, when you find something in that book that resonates with you, then you can use that part to help you. Sometimes you don't. This is my opinion. Sometimes you don't have to read the whole book. It's good to read like the whole book if it interests you and is helping you. But for me, I take what resonates with me and I use it when I'm out in the world to get better at whatever I'm trying to do. And so now we're at the 3rd step, which is action. Like, action is the best thing. Like, action is the key to whatever we're trying to do. Once you identify the internal obstacles and then you researched it, put those things into action. It is very important that we put into action. Like I said, we just work towards these things every day. Don't be hard on yourself. I have to continuously tell myself this. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just do your best. Like, every day, just do your best, because when you think about it, these things that we have going on internally, and we're so used to doing it every day, like it's ingrained in us. It's going to take a while for us to begin to break loose from these. So give yourself some grace, have some patience. But yes, number 3 is action. That's the most important part, which is the action. Just do little by little every day. And sometimes it might not seem that you are not making progress, but you are. And so for me, once I began to incorporate once I did the 3 steps and I worked at it every day, I began to see the change. And I was like, okay, well, I can use this. Like, I did it first for me, and I was just like, well, I can use this as to give my audience value. Like for my clothing brand, World Creators, which we are about self-improvement. We are about self-improvement and becoming a better person. That's a part of World Creators. And so I was like, well, let me put this out here, and hopefully these 3 steps can help somebody else. So yeah, those are the 3 steps towards working towards reaching your full potential, accomplishing your goals. And these 3 steps, I feel like, can help someone who wants to how can I say it, maybe start over or start to work on something that they always wanted to do. Because I feel like in life there's something that we have always wanted to do. We might have started a project and put it down and never came back to it, and someone probably wanted to go back to school to finish their degree, but like I said, we have these internal obstacles that we let stop us. And so I feel like this is very important once we can identify these things and begin to work on it. So I hope you've gained some value out of this. Please, if this resonated with you, I appreciate you listening to this video, checking out World Creators channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. We would definitely love that. And I thank you again, and I appreciate you. Y'all continue to have a positive and productive day. All right, y'all. Peace.